Welcome back. And today we have what I think is going to be a very engaging conversation. We're going to be talking about a wind down or nighttime routine and kind of what that means and why it's so important. And so, before we jump in, Logan, I'd like to ask, do you have anything you'd like to share on this topic?
Just that I have since employing it, which has only this particular technique been a couple of years myself. It has been so helpful for me. And when I slip, I definitely notice the impact of not doing it. That's all I really had to say before we head in here. So,
Yeah, and I can relate with that pretty strongly. We just started developing my wind down routine together, and I really just started kind of becoming intentional about it. And oof, man, yeah, I'm noticing some unhealthy patterns that definitely, kind of the effect that it has on my energy and focus throughout the day. Yeah, I'm really excited to jump in here. So, first of all, why is having a nighttime routine important for overall health and wellness?
I think, particularly in this day and age, with how many things there are just in in our daily world, stimulating us from the bright lights to the screens to our phones that are always on us and can go off at any time. So we always got to be somewhat ready, right? To just the pace of everything. It's more important, I think, now than ever, in fact, to take a little time to decompress at the end of the day before you actually lay down to rest, to rejuvenate yourself. That's what sleep is supposed to be, right? It's not just a time to get your energy levels back up. It's also a time to decompress. Your mind is working things out that have happened in the day. It's making sense of things you've learned and experienced. And, a lot of our learning happens in this time. So it's a very important time. And so giving it that respect of like, I'm not going to try and calm down in laying in bed and then wonder why I can't go to sleep when I jumped in here from my whole work day just an hour ago and then drove a half hour home, yada yada. It can really show huge benefits when you take the time to decompress and then you sleep on so many levels, and this ties right in there with our conversations on just sleep.
Absolutely. And it also sounds like, it's not even just getting in that restful state. It sounds like there's a lot of kind of defragging, if you will, and processing of things that happen throughout the day. And I'm kind of guessing, that might help with those of us who, have racing thoughts when we lay down or crazy dreams and stuff like that. So that's a really interesting point.
Yeah,
And
definitely helps with the racing thoughts, and but again, when we're talking about a wind down or a nighttime routine, it depends on what you include in that routine too. Like, do you need to deal with racing thoughts that include something like box breathing or some kind of visualization meditation that you can do so that your thoughts slow down? If you don't deal with racing thoughts, you don't need to include that in your nighttime routine, right? It can be individualized for you.
mhm, absolutely, yeah. And for me personally, I definitely find that box breathing or some other breathing routine and some time in meditation and visualization have been extremely helpful to me. And so,
Likewise.
yeah, absolutely. But what are some of the common barriers that people face when trying to establish a nighttime routine? Like myself, for example, I find I work throughout the day, I homeschool my daughter, and so nighttime comes and I get this feeling of wanting to just kind of reclaim some of my own time, and that really affects, getting to sleep at a consistent time because I'm staying up late and trying to engage in relaxing activities. And so, yeah, what are some of the other barriers that may present?
Well, I think that to me was the biggest one too, is trying to, as you call it, reclaim the day, or feel. I would also just give a little more on what I believe you mean by that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But taking a little time for yourself, right? It's giving yourself a little time because you've done so much throughout the day. So there's a couple things there, right? First of all, is you can spend some time if your day, so like when I was dealing with this, I was mostly working a second shift, right? You're working the night shift. Get up earlier and do your you stuff in the morning so that you still get that time in your day for you. Would be my first recommendation if that's the core of it. But if it's more of a I need to just have some downtime before I actually go to bed, then my recommendation would be to kind of incorporate that into your wind down routine, right? For me, I usually figure a good solid wind down routine will take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, right? Because again, we're not just talking about like stretching or something like this. This is like a whole ritual, kind of like your morning routine, right? That's not just getting up and brushing your teeth. There's like some things you do each morning to get yourself rolling in the day into a healthy way. It's the exact same thing, but this time you're winding down from your day. So give it it's a process. It's multi-step. And so you can certainly, and I like to do this by the way, when I'm stretching. I'll stretch and I'll have a show on that I like. I don't have to stretch in silence. You can do them both. I can be stretching and still have a show on. I now I'll also say when it's that time, I don't put a show on that I am like that's brand new to me, that I'm super enthralled with, that like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? It's usually like a sitcom that I've seen before, or some kind of slice of life show, some low level drama, no like huge action and explosions and all this. In fact, that's kind of counterintuitive to the entire process here. But in the beginning, certainly. And then, by the end of my wind down routine, I have nothing going on. I'm doing my breath work and meditation. I'm alone in my room right next to my bed, seated, just doing that work in silence. So, you can say like in the beginning of the routine to get, and this can help you get into it. It's okay to have the TV on. It's okay to be doing all these things and have them going in the background, just like sleep. If they say it's best to have a silent room, pitch black, all this. If you're dealing with racing thoughts, it can actually be helpful to have some low level sound on. So same idea here. It can help to have something in the background that you like listening to so that you're kind of getting yourself into the process, especially early on. Because I agree, when I was first getting started, it took me months to do just my first night of it after I first planned it because I just kept, plus you're tired, which means your willpower's a little bit lower, right? You're not as able to be like, get your ass up and do what I say to your, in your head to yourself. Doesn't work when you're like headed to bed, like, dude, I've already done everything today. I'm not.
Yeah. Oof. Absolutely. Yeah. I like how you present it as a very individual thing. We all have to find what works for us, our reasoning, our goals. And, I know for me personally, being somebody that struggles with addiction and has struggled with substance use in the past, I'm always keeping my eyes out for extremes and trying to find balance. And so that was kind of my biggest reason for trying to kind of bring this more under control. It's just that it was just a bit extreme. I would have a new show that's full of drama and explosions, and then I just get tired and I pass out, and I'm eating and snacking right before bed, and just all these kind of unconscious things that I've started to become conscious of the effects of them, and some of the negatives of them. And so now, if you could, what are some of your methods for overcoming these barriers and helping stick to a nighttime routine?
Well, like I said, the first is having something on the background to help ease into the routine. So it's kind of like overlapping your day with the beginning of your nighttime routine. The next would be my environment, right? So I intentionally start to make sure the brightest lights are on, no fluorescence and stuff. If you have a dimmer, dim it down low. even off if the TV light is enough, or maybe you have some plants growing in the corner so they have a light enough so that you're not falling when you go and get up, but just enough so you can operate. The whole room doesn't need to be lit up bright. You're headed down. What do you need to see? That clearly, as long as you can see that you're not going to trip when you're walking through the room, you're doing no detail work. Um, Same thing with noise. And whatever you're listening to, turn the volume down a little bit. All of this will help to just bring your overall energy down. And that can be very helpful. At the same time, if you're coming from the opposite and like you're already dragging and all of this, it might be helpful to turn on a bright light in the beginning of the wind down routine to again to energize yourself back up and feel more into getting things done, or again turn on some music quick that's going to get you energized. And I say quick because you're doing this just to get yourself into it, to get you to do it. In the beginning, it's okay to use little things to get the habit built. Once you do it a couple times, my hope for everybody would be that you see the benefits of it, you see the payoff. For myself, I think you as well, like you said, we've been working on it with you. You see the benefits within days. So by the time you're starting to see benefits, you want to do it more. It's not as much of a kick in the ass to have to do it. So really, it's only the first couple of days that are really, really hard, right? And the more you do it, the more you like those benefits, the more you're going to realize when they aren't there, which is then going to kind of self-enforce you're wanting to do it more. And again, we all fall off sometimes, so then you'll have to pick up those kicks in the butt, as it were, techniques to get you going again. Blast some rap music or some metal or some whatever kind of music gets you amped up, Just one song just to get you into it, then turn it off because you are actually trying to wind yourself down, but you might need to just kick yourself in the butt for a minute to get you beginning.
Mm, yeah. So keep the goal in mind, but use what's available to get you there. That's good. And so now that kind of leads me into my last question here. Now, again, as someone who struggles with dysregulation and mental health addiction, I catch myself a lot wanting to make big, drastic changes, wanting to have the perfect schedule, the perfect routine all planned out. And often I, have some pretty unrealistic expectations in my head of how well that's going to go for me. And so, what would you say to someone who feels overwhelmed by the idea of creating the perfect nighttime routine?
Well, the first and obvious thing, as brutal as it is to hear, is that it's not real. The perfect nighttime routine doesn't exist. Because the true perfect, like I don't mean to be a dick or anything, but like let's really break down what that means. What that really means. A perfect nighttime routine, at least I assume, would mean it works for everybody all the time, right? Why don't we all know about this freaking thing, man? Because it doesn't exist, right? And I say that with confidence because it's just like anything else involving a living people. We're all different. We all are dealing with different things. We all have different issues. And some of those issues that different people are dealing with are completely opposite to each other. So they're going to need opposite solutions. So the perfect doesn't exist. It definitely doesn't exist in the blanket. And even for an individual, it doesn't exist because in life, throughout this journey we're on, things are going to change. So again, what you're going to need to use to wind down or amp up or get your thoughts in order or get your thoughts in the right direction or any of these is going to change throughout your journey. So the perfect just, I'm sorry. And I mean that. I really am, because I also wish that not only the perfect nighttime routine, but the perfect everything could exist so we could find each one of them, and then perfect world, how lovely. But at the same time, how boring. Like, really, let's be honest. How boring, how long would we really love perfection? Mm, so perfect just that is unfortunately just doesn't exist. My recommendations, if you will, for dealing with that, as it were, is to say, I'm going to start with what I think will work, and then I'm just going to keep learning and tuning it. I'm going to fine tune it, tune it until it's right. And then when it needs it again, just like a guitar, you play it so many times, you got to tune it again, even though it was already tuned to perfection before.
Mm,
Well, eventually you've used it. It's been used. It's gotten loose again. You need to replace the things. You need to all this. Same with us in this journey, man. You're gonna have to tune it up
mm,
throughout. Adjust it here. Oh, that's not working anymore. Got to try something else. Might take some time to find it. That's life, man. That's the journey we're on.
absolutely. And I would I would encourage keep that playful aspect in your experimentation, because that is what we're doing here. We're experimenting, and like I remember back in the day creating those, volcanoes out of, baking soda and vinegar or whatever. It's a fun thing. You're excited and you're looking forward to see the result of what happens. And the journey of getting there is fun and engaging.
And
So,
now utilizing that analogy, can I just um I already pretty sure I know the answer here, but when that volcano exploded when you were a kid, were you upset that it didn't like explode and hit the ceiling and you were still like, dude, that was still fucking cool, right?
oh yeah,
You
even if
might
it
have
just
said, like,
barely
dude, I
bubbled
wonder
over
if
the
we can
top.
get it bigger. But I'm almost positive you weren't like, fuck, man, this sucked.
Right.
No, you were like, dude, that was cool. Can we get it bigger?
Mm,
That's
right.
the
Right.
same attitude we should take here.
Mm,
No,
yeah.
maybe it's not as big as you were expecting, but hey, it did something. Let's see if we can get it better next time.
Absolutely. And kind of the other side of that, that type of attitude and mindset has really kind of helped me get over some of that result based thinking, just only thinking about the result I'm looking for and where I should be, where I want to be, to actually be present and take time to enjoy the process of getting there and all this
Oh,
work that I'm
absolutely,
doing
man.
on myself. And
That's and let me just say this too, because this is something that I have to remind myself of often. I think we all forget, but the journey's the bigger part, anyways. Even if you achieve it, you enjoy it for how long before you're like, all right, what next?
right,
It's
absolutely.
it's really no matter what you do, fail or succeed, it's more about the journey. So like
Mhm.
appreciate that. Experience it at the very least, if not appreciate it. Experience it, be in it, actually pay a little attention.
Yeah. And I mean, I will say for somebody that's, spent a majority of my life not being comfortable in my own skin, not liking myself, just generally uncomfortable and unwell now to begin to find comfort in myself and my being and who I am, where I'm at. It is an incredible gift. And so I would encourage anyone out there struggling, keep hope. It's there.
Definitely.
All right. Well, this has been very informative, very engaging. Really appreciate your time, Logan, and we'll be
Absolutely.
back soon.